All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA video. And there's always NBA news, always NBA things happening. And yesterday, it was reported 23 hours ago, as of me recording this video, from ESPN's Shams Charania that Bradley Beal has agreed to a contract buyout with the Phoenix Suns and plans to join the Los Angeles Clippers on a 2-year, $11 million deal with a player option after clearing waivers. So the Bradley Beal experience and experiment and every other word that can be used for trial and error has ended in Phoenix. An uneventful time. We're going to talk about his time in Phoenix a little bit. We're going to talk about the Clippers and what he means to this team going forward as the starting shooting guard for this team. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you like the vibes, consider subscribing. So we're not going to do a full team deep dive, and I'm not going to really tell you where I think they line up in the conference. I am going to talk about that a little bit, but I do want to save that for my preview videos for the season. Next season, we'll talk about every team, all 30 teams. Um, all 30, is it 32 or 30? Jeez, I don't remember. That's how bad some of these teams are. You just forget about them. If I had to name all 30, I'd probably forget one or two. Nevertheless, we'll save that for the preview video for the Clippers. I do just want to talk about this in like in the grand scheme of things, not getting too deep into the details. But I do want to chat about the roster. Of course, Bradley Beal's addition to this roster is huge. Stepping right into that starting shooting guard spot. They also acquired Brooke Lopez this offseason, and they acquired John Collins this offseason. Huge gets. Um, the huge person that had to be sacrificed in order for this team to come together the way it has was Norman Powell. Norman Powell had a great couple years with the Clippers. I didn't even think to pull up his stats. I should pull up his stats to tell you how good Norman Powell was here. Um, he was solid. He was with the Clippers for what is this? 4 years, since 2021, 2022. And in those years, he averaged, let's see here, 21. He was in six man of the year conversations. 2 out of the 4 years he was there, he averaged 21, 17, 13, 21. His best year last year as a pro, essentially. Yeah. His best year scoring wise as a pro. In his 10 years of NBA experience, Norman Powell, in his last year as a Clipper, had 21 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, shot 41% from three and 48% from field goal, and played 60 games. And he has the battle scars to prove it. He has that gnarly scar down the center of his center of his head that he got playing for the Clippers, and I believe that was in a playoff series. So Norm put his blood, sweat, and tears into this team. He's in Miami, so I don't think he's too mad about where he ended up. But he needed to be sacrificed in order for this team to come together the way it was, because Norm had a lot of money on his books still, and he was they were banking. I think the Clippers thought he's not going to be able to duplicate this year that he had last year. Let's get rid of him while the iron is hot. And he was involved, I believe, in that John Collins deal. It was a three-teamer of a deal. It was multiple teams involved. So they got John Collins out of it. Now, the starting lineup for this Clippers team next year is about to be a doozy. So let's talk through it here. Um, Obviously, this is if everybody's healthy. Everybody needs to be healthy. um, it's going to be James Harden at point guard, Bradley Beal at shooting guard, Kawhi Leonard at the three, which I prefer over any other position he's played. I prefer him. I prefer Kawhi Leonard at the three than trying to play the four. At this stage of his career, he doesn't need to be playing the four. He can still keep up with these threes. He had some great defensive moments last year that I think were overlooked, and yeah. So John Collins will probably take Derek Jones' starting spot. Um, John Collins at the four, and Ivica Zubac, who I was really hoping would get was it defense most improved? It was most improved. I had my most improved ballot last year. He was there. He was in the conversation. Um, That's your starting five: James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, Vic Zubac. Now, the only concern I have about this starting five, well, there were a few, there was actually multiple, but the biggest one to me, aside from Bradley Beal and James Harden being in the backcourt together, which is crazy, um, is can this team does this team have enough floor spacing around it? I know Brad is a shooter. I know Kawhi is a mid range shooter and has worked on his three and is a pretty decent 3 point shooter at this point. And James Harden is a 3 point shooter. But when I go look at John Collins' stats here, I like to think before I look at that, I pulled them up and I'm looking at them yet. When I think of John Collins, this is just me. I think of him as like a catch and shoot shooter, like maybe not in the best percentage. He's been in Utah the last couple years, and his role sort of been mitigated. It's been a little smaller than it usually is. That's how I think of him. I'm gonna look at the stats right now. Um, how many attempts is this? This is on it's 3 attempts. Okay, so John Collins, for his career, his 8 years in the NBA, has shot 36% from three. That's in his time in Atlanta and his time in Utah. Um, Last year, on I guess he's taking like 3 to 4 attempts per year for his whole career essentially. He was almost at 40% from three, and he made one. He made one three. Yeah, he made one. So he takes them. It's just the question of is he gonna make at least one, and if he can make one, can he at least make two? Can he at least keep the defense honest? Because if it's a Zubac is not a 3 point shooter, he's a old school big back, not back to the basket, but in the paint, dirty work player, center. Does is there enough shooting in this starting lineup with Brad and with James and Kawhi to stretch the defense out enough in the sense of when Beal or James are doing pick and roll with Collins or Zubac, and James Harden and Victor Zubac have an amazing pick and roll connection. Is it going to be enough in a playoff series to not have to, or for the defense to double James and forget Zubac, or James three isn't falling, or Bradley Beal's three isn't falling, and just to collapse on um, Zubac in the paint? It remains to be seen. I think if I go look at Bradley Beal's stats here, right? Bradley Beal's a career 37% 3 point shooter, um, which is better. In his time in Phoenix, he was a 40% 3 point shooter. That was around two other All Star type guys in Booker and Kevin. He's still around two All Star kind of guys in Kawhi and James. Granted, a little bit older. Um, is 40% sort of a norm we could get used to for Bradley Beal? I could see it maybe like 39, 37, or 38. Because in Washington, he was a 37% 3 point shooter. So I think he can hang around 40. I don't think it's going to dip too much. He's going to get a lot of open looks, that's for sure. Um, do I think. Where does this team rank in the West as of today, as of July? Um, we'll go through it real quick right here. So they ended as the 5 seed last year. They lost in the first round to the Nuggets. It was a pretty entertaining series. Really liked that series. Let's roll through these teams. So, are they better than the Thunder? No. Are they better than the Rockets with KD now? No. Are they better than the Lakers? Uh, mm, yes. I'm going to say yes. Purely because of their depth, and we'll get into the Clippers' depth here in a second. Um, are they better than the Nuggets? No. So that's three teams they're not better than. Are they better than the Timberwolves? No. Simply because the Timberwolves are a little younger. Are they better than the Warriors? Yes. Are they better than the Grizzlies? Yes. Are they better than the Kings? Yes. Are they better than the Mavericks? Ooh, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. That's five teams they're not better than. Are they better than the Suns? Yes. Are they better than the Blazers? Uh, on paper, yes, but I think the matchup between Portland and the Clippers is better than you would think it is. Um, the Portland Trailblazers match up better than a lot of these other teams that I've said they are better than. Are they better than the Spurs? Yes. Are they better than the Pelicans? Yes. They're better than the Jazz? Yes. So there's only five teams that are better than the Clippers, or have the potential to be better than the Clippers, and depending how the season goes and the seeding works out, whatever. I think that not that Bradley Beal doesn't move the needle. I think Bradley Beal moves the needle in the sense of like you can win one more playoff series and maybe a few more games, which is what you kind of want at this stage of the Clippers' process of being in contention, quote unquote. You sort of need to just keep adding these guys that win you a couple more games, win you another playoff series. You're not going to win a championship with Bradley Beal and James Harden. Um, I think it's a couple years too late for that. Um, Now that would put them at the 5 or 6 seed again, and that would put them borderline playing team again. They only missed the play-in by 2 games. It was tight last year in the West, so I'm not gonna do that too much. But like, they're in that tier of like Lakers, Memphis. Um, I think the Blazers are gonna be good next year. Blazers, San Antonio, like they're in that realm. They're really in that area. Um, I don't think and I don't want this to be misconstrued as I think Bradley Beal's a bad player. I've said this multiple times on multiple occasions that I think Brad's a decent player. I think what he was getting paid absolutely tanked his value as a player, and people looked at him like you're not worth 200x million dollars. Um, you're just not. The Washington Wizards gave you that because it was in good faith that you had been at the franchise for so long. You were the face of the franchise. Here's your money. And then when you went to another team, it just didn't look good. And Bradley Beal was never worth $200 million. He was absolutely never worth that. Never worth it. Never. I don't want to hear about it any year that he had. He was never worth $200 million. He was never the best. He was the best player on a bad team. He was never the best player on a good team. Those are the facts. Them's the facts. Um, I think it's interesting when you look at this Clippers team because you bring in again John Collins and Brook Lopez, and Brook Lopez could be the answer to the floor spacing problem I was alluding to earlier. Was Brook Lopez is a floor stretch big, he can when defenses start collapsing on Zubac or whatever the case may be, Zubac just isn't working. You bring in Brook Lopez, 17 years NBA experience. Um, damn, 17 years. Damn, damn, that makes me feel old. Wow, okay, 17 years NBA experience, Brook Lopez. To stretch the floor a little bit, and that opens it up even more. And the other thing you could do is you could do a vertical threat lineup, basically the same three, James, Beal, and Kawhi, and then you bring in Derrick Jones and you put John Collins at the five, and you just have the super athletic front court, which could work sometimes. Or you put Nicholas Batum at the four, run him with John Collins. Nicholas Batum is a pretty decent defender. You have these sneaky options that you can get in here, and really, um, I haven't even mentioned Bogdanovich, who you could slide in. You could slide in at the two and put James on the bench, or put um, Beal on the bench. Um, you have Chris Dunn. I just saw his name. If you really need some defense, you put in Chris Dunn in James Harden's spot or Bradley Beal's spot. there's sneaky good like potential for a lot of versatile lineups. I think Teron Lue is going to use all these lineups at some point during the season next season because they are really, really good. Now, the question for the Clippers is always health. I think it's more important now than ever that everybody be healthy for at least half a season. Let this team gel, let this team get some chemistry, let everybody find their role and be comfortable in their role because this team has potential to be a matchup nightmare. Like I listed, they're not better than the five teams in better. There are five teams better than them in the West. Now, does that mean they can't win a series against these guys? No. I think the only teams that would be impossible for them to win a series against is like Oklahoma, um, Denver, Houston. Yeah, I think that's the only three teams that they could probably not win a series against. Like it would be a tough series for the Clippers. It'd be a little easier for those teams. Yeah, I'd say those teams definitely. I think they could probably beat the Timberwolves in a series, fully healthy. I'm saying they could probably beat Dallas in a series. Um, any combination of Golden State, Memphis, yeah, like they could beat them in a series. Like it's not complicated on that end. Um, I think when you look at the West, it's hard to put these guys in this conversation because the West is so good. But I do like their depth. This is the best depth Clippers team in a while since like before they got Kawhi when they had like Patrick Beverly, Lou Will, Danilo Gallinari, Nicholas Batum the first time around. Um, this is the deepest Clipper team, most competent Clipper team in a while. Um, there are people, obviously, the talking heads on TV that are like Bradley Beal is the key to winning a 2025 championship for the Clippers. I don't think that. Let's not go that far. Let's see them play first. I'm not gonna spout out that nonsense. Let's see them play first. Um, and the other conversation that's happening is Bradley Beal an upgrade from Norman Powell? Bradley Beal is younger than Norman Powell. It's just a fun fact. Um, I think he is. I think in consistency, Bradley Beal is. I think an engaged. I think a um, open-minded Bradley Beal is better than Norm Powell. I like Norm Powell off the bench, even though he's morphed himself into a player that probably should start. I like Norm Powell off the bench. I still like Bradley Beal as a starter on this type of team as well. I didn't like him on the Phoenix Suns as a starter. Um, other stuff of note. The title odds, the betting odds were plus 2,000, and they remain plus 2,000 for the Clippers to win the championship. So Bradley Beal hasn't moved the needle in Las Vegas either on the betting side of things. Um, what else is there? I think I think this is a great spot for Bradley Beal. There were talks of Milwaukee. There were talks of Golden State, which I don't know if I would have loved, but Golden State apparently only offered him a veteran minimum, which is the only thing they can do. I think this is the best place it could have been. And there was also talks of the Lakers, but I don't think the Lakers would have worked. I don't like Luca and I like Luca and Bradley Beal in the backcourt less than I like James Harden and Bradley Beal in the backcourt. And I haven't really talked about their defense, James Harden and Bradley Beal. I think in moments Bradley Beal and James Harden could be a good defensive backcourt. Are they going to be great? No. Are they stopping these young guys? No. Are they stopping Anthony Edwards? No. Are they stopping Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? No. But that's why you have Chris Dunn. That's why you have uh, Derrick Jones Jr. That's why you have these other guys on this team. But in those moments, in crunch time, you're going to need Bradley Beal and James Harden out there. And I, I don't know if that's a combination you like. Um, the last thing here I want to read um, or get into is a tweet from Bill Simmons, a guy I respect, a guy who has a lot of NBA knowledge here. He tweeted out right after this the signing went down, this buyout and signing went down. Um, so things went, and I quote in a tweet. So things went south with Bradley Beal in Phoenix because he resented being a role player and supporting guy to KD and Booker and not having the ball enough. Dot dot dot. But now he's happy being a role player, supporting guy to Harden and Kawhi and not having the ball enough. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up. I I I think this is, and Bradley Beal's a no trade clause, by the way, so he wanted to go to Phoenix. I'm mentioning that so I can say this. Um, I think I think Bradley Beal has an ego, and it's not a, well, it is a bad ego. Bradley Beal was told by what is now former coach Mike Budenholzer that he wanted him to play a Drew Holiday role. This was last year, during the course of the season last year. And that upset Bradley Beal because Bradley Beal was like, I'm not Drew Holiday. I don't want to be Drew Holiday. I'm paraphrasing here. When Drew Holiday has done things that Bradley Beal will never do and has never done. Drew Holiday is a two-time champion, a defensive master key on two championship teams, and Bradley Beal has been on two shitty teams in the course of his, what is this now, 13 NBA experience. I think Bradley Beal needs to be humbled. I think being in a different sort of situation where he can still be a leader, because when he was in Phoenix, that team was Devin Booker's team. It's always gonna be Devin Booker's team. Bradley Beal was the guy on the Wizards who had the voice for the longest time, and I think with Kawhi being more of a silent leader, James Harden not really has never shown to be a leader. At least, I should say vocally. On the court, James Harden's a great leader. He took time out of his schedule to work with the Vitsa Zubats when James got there. I think that's a nod as a leader to be like, hey, this is my big guy I need to work with. Let me work with him. Let me show him how I like to pass it. Let him tell me how he likes it, where he likes it. And then I think Bradley Beal can still be a leader and not be relegated to a role player. He's going to be one of the. You're going to see posters of them. It's the big three: James, Beal, and Leonard. Um, I think it's a little bit different. There is a lot of weight to what Bill Simmons has said in this tweet, but I think maybe I'm drinking the Kool Aid. Maybe Bradley Beal has already softened on me. Like I've softened on him a little bit because he's not on that huge deal. But I'm going to give Beal the benefit of the doubt on his third team to try to change a little bit, and he's learned from the Phoenix situation. That's all I'll say. Um, One other thing of note is that Bradley Beal did give up a huge sum of money. Well, there's two other things here. He gave up a huge sum of money in the buyout. So he just wanted to get Phoenix, and Phoenix wanted to get rid of him. I think he gave up like $13 million. Um, so yeah, that's also something that that Beal wanted to be here. That he didn't want to wait. He wanted to get to LA as soon as possible, work with everybody, and do all that stuff. Um, I think that's something to note. Instead of just waiting it out or trying to get the Clippers to trade for him, I think it was a mutual parting of ways at this point that Beal was just done in Phoenix and Phoenix was done with Beal. Um, One other thing of note, Shams Charania also reported that James Harden recruited Beal to the Clippers, and he said, Shams said, I'm told James Harden was a focal point in recruiting Bradley Beal. The Clippers view Bradley Beal as the perfect fit alongside Leonard and Harden. They see him as a natural, seamless fit at the starting shooting guard spot after the trade of Norm Powell. Um, I don't know about seamless. I'm gonna have to see it. I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical of this fit. Um, I'm I have to see it to believe it. I have to see Bradley Beal in a Clippers jersey, suited up in the starting lineup for at least 10 games, and then we can have that conversation. Um, to wrap it up here, I do want to talk about Bradley Beal's time in Phoenix. Um, just as somebody who is a Devin Booker fan and a little bit of a Phoenix Suns fan. Um, Bradley Beal was the worst thing that happened to the Phoenix Suns. Bradley Beal broke up a team that went to the NBA Finals, um, and was poised to go back again. Um, Bradley Beal broke up a team consisting of Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, um, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. And I like that team a hell of a lot more than I liked any team, any combination of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and whoever with Bradley Beal. Um, I will never forgive Bradley Beal for that. For that, Bradley Beal wasted 2 years of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant, and I'll never forgive him for that. This is not an indictment on Bradley Beal, the player. This is an indictment on Bradley Beal being paid $200 million at one point in his career and having a no trade clause and not wanting to conform to a championship atmosphere. And that is something that we should all be mindful of in this next chapter of Bradley Beal's career with the Clippers is that Bradley Beal has never been a championship level player. James Harden has never been a championship level player. Kawhi Leonard is a two-time champion, a two-time Finals MVP. Is that enough at all of their stages in their careers to propel the Clippers to at least a conference Finals appearance again? I don't know. We'll talk about that in our preview at the beginning of next season. Um, I have been doing some light research on the Phoenix Suns. Haven't started the script yet, but since this Bradley Beal buyout and whatever has happened, we will, you guys will have turmoil for the Phoenix Suns, my series on this channel. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a card in the top right corner. It will take you to the turmoil playlist, and you can watch the one about the Dallas Mavericks and get a taste of what will be coming for the Phoenix Suns. And yeah, and that's all. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.